What's up, Knicks fans? We are so excited to announce that this summer, Fanatics Fest is returning to New York City, taking over the Javits Center from Thursday, July 16th to Sunday, July 19th. Meet your favorite athletes from every major league, including current New York Knicks like Josh Hart, Jalen Brunson, Karl Anthony Towns, and Knicks legend Patrick Ewing. Catch live podcasts and panels featuring some of the biggest names in sports while experiencing interactive activations from top leagues and brands. You can grab exclusive merch and discover one-of-a-kind memorabilia from sports and entertainment. Buy, sell, and trade collectibles with hundreds of top dealers. Connect with fans around the world who share your passion for sports. Tickets are on sale now at fanaticsfest.com, and when you use promo code KNICKSFILM10 at checkout, you'll get 10% off your purchase. It's an extra day of the world's #1 sports fan festival coming together under one roof, and you don't want to miss it.
Welcome to the Knicks Film School Postgame Show presented by FANATICS Sportsbook, where you just heard Andrew Claudio tell you about Fanatics Fest is back in just a couple of months or like 6 months. So somebody to get excited about. But right now, we are here to get excited about something that we have not tasted in, it feels like, I don't know, months, years, decades, perhaps. A win! Boy, did we need this one. I'm a little jumpy because I came into this one with the same feeling as probably a lot of you watching and listening, which was a combination of nerves, agita, of course, anticipation. Can tonight be the night that we bust out of this thing? And just kind of, I think, more than anything, and I think this is the thing that drives me crazy when a team that is a good team, and the Knicks, despite what's been happening for the last week or so, are still a good team, is when a good team, starts playing beneath themselves, there is confusion, and you wonder, and you start asking yourself questions. And I have been asking myself questions, both in front of this camera and microphone and in the newsletter and on my own personal time, which is totally healthy. Not a problem at all. Like, why is this happening? And more important than why is it happening, can it be solved with any degree of expediency, of finality? And, you talk to yourself, you talk to other fans, the whole thing. At the end of the day, team just has to go out there and play a decent basketball game. And the Knicks did that tonight for the first time in a while. Look, a lot of things have been said over the last few days. Is one win going to make all of those things go away? No. Like, the issues that existed with this team, both the ones that we've been talking about throughout the entirety of the season and some of the new ones that I think have cropped up over the last few days, those issues are still here. But I think the Knicks had reached a point where, more than anything, they just needed to get back to feeling good about themselves. And as I said before, getting back to playing good basketball. And there's no question they did that tonight. And I think they did it in a way that was encouraging on several fronts. They got back to some of the offensive principles that we started the year with under Mike Brown. They played, I would say, and this is going to sound crazy because James Harden and Kawhi Leonard, had their way with them, for a lot of this game. I thought they defended well, or let me rephrase that. I thought they defended soundly, which is to say, when you look at the final stat line and you look at Kawhi Leonard, 25 points on 20 shots, James Harden, 23 points on 17 shots, those stat lines aren't going to kill you. And yeah, both of those guys got theirs at various points in time. But I love how the Knicks adjusted as the game went on. I think they started guarding James Harden differently, making sure they were taking away that step back off the dribble 3 option and forcing him. And Benji tweeted about this during the game. Force him to beat you inside where he is a step slower now, and he does show his age, unlike from behind the arc, and then OG going to work, I thought, on Kawhi Leonard, Mikal Bridges as well. And just in general, I thought the team showed pretty sound principles defensively. Yeah, it helps to have a guy like Chris Dunn on the court who's going to, potentially go 1 of 6 from deep like he did tonight. Got a little bit lucky with some of the others. Brook Lopez didn't hit as many threes as he has been for a while. But look, they defended well. They gave up 111 points to a team that has been scoring at will for the better part of the last 3 weeks. And I want to just get one thing out of the way off the top before I get into some specific praise. And oh boy, are we going to deliver some specific praise to a few players tonight. I don't want to hear anything about that they beat a 13 and now 23 team. Or maybe actually they're 13 and 24. I don't know if ESPN has updated yet. This Clipper team has the second best net rating in the league over the last 2 weeks. They have been one of the best teams in basketball, full stop. I'm actually pulling up their record right now. Yes, they lost recently to the Boston Celtics, but before that, they had won 6 games in a row. So really, since December 20th, which is not nothing. That's a span of 2.5 weeks. They've been playing exceptional basketball. They've actually been defending a little bit. So this is a real win. And it's especially a real win because the Clippers came out and I thought they put it to the Knicks up 14-5, which was, I won't say it resembled the Detroit game in the first 4 minutes, but the defense, I thought, absolutely resembled the Detroit game in the first 4 minutes. And then Mike Brown called that timeout. And I think things started to change really right out of that timeout. So credit to Mike Brown, whatever the hell he said in there. And then also credit to some of the guys who came in and changed the energy. But last thing before I get to the individual praise, the other thing that I really liked about this win, and I think should be very encouraging for a team that you wondered, especially after the comments, and we talked about him on the last post game, a team where Popper and Bondi both tweeted out something to the effect of they had to talk out some issues, amongst themselves in the locker room. It sounds an awful lot like a players only meeting. That term wasn't used, but whatever. They had to talk some things out. So you love that it was a team win. You love that you look up and down the roster. 13 guys played genuine, real rotation minutes tonight. And I thought 9 guys played genuine, real rotation minutes tonight. And I thought 9 guys contributed to this win in a positive way. Not 6, not 7, not 8. All 9 guys who played real rotation minutes. And with the exception of Tyler Kolek playing and Josh Hart being on the bench, it was the 9 guys that you expected to be the rotation at the start of the year, which is maybe the closest we've come to that all season long. I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to go back, but we haven't had a lot of games this season where even 8 of the 9 presumed rotation players, all played significant minutes and certainly all played well. That has not happened very often. So all that stuff is great. Lots of stuff to be happy about. Lots of stuff to praise tonight. And while it is a great team win and it is great for this team to get back on track, I would be remiss to start anywhere other than Deuce McBride. And look, if you didn't watch this game and you just looked at the box score, you're starting with Deuce McBride. OG Anunoby had 20 points on 10 shots. Karl-Anthony Towns almost had a triple-double. Jalen Brunson had 26 points on 12 shots. Yabusele, perfect from 3. Pretty sure it's the only time you could say that on multiple attempts so far this season. And you go up and down, Jordan Clarkson, 5 and 9 from the field. Tyler Kolek, a team high plus 18. How you doing? We're going to get back to Tyler Kolek. Why, Macri, are you starting with the guy who needed 15 shots to get his 16 points and was actually a -1 for the game? And that's where you got to watch the basketball, which I know everybody watching this one did, or watching me or listening to me now, or most of you, I'm sure, did. When a team is in a slump, and they have obviously been in a slump, you need someone to pull you out of it. And I think Deuce McBride over the last several games has been trying his damnedest to do exactly that. But to no avail because nobody else was along with him for the ride. And so what do we hear before this game after starting the Mitchell Robinson starting five the last couple of games and getting off to, absolutely abhorrent starts in those games? He started Deuce tonight, which against this lineup and against a team featuring James Harden, I think made a lot of sense, but you still have to do it. And Mike Brown finally did it. So I think that was step one. And then, we got through the first quarter and it was okay. They ended the first quarter 31-27. It honestly felt like they were maybe a little fortunate to only be down 4 after that first quarter. And then what happens right at the top of the second quarter? LA Clippers, it was a mishmash of plays, some bad stuff on the offensive end. The Clippers get 2 straight threes. They're up 37 to it was a 6-0 run. So actually, I'm not sure if that's where they went up by 9. I have the freaking play-by-play right here. I could just look this up. Why am I guessing? No, it wasn't. It wasn't 6 straight points to begin the period because Deuce actually hit a 3 to start the period. And it was 3 points of a Deuce McBride personal 9-0 run that also contained a block shot on, I'm pretty sure it was a block shot on Kawhi Leonard, although, again, another thing that I could look up because I have the freaking box score with me right here. Kobe Sanders, excuse me, not quite Kawhi Leonard. And I thought that stretch from Deuce and the last of those 3-pointers from Deuce got him back to within 37-36. I don't know what it was, but there was something about the start of that second quarter that I got that feeling watching it where I was like, oh no, this game is going to go the same way the Detroit game went. This game is going to go the same way the Sixers game went. And it was like Deuce was like, no, I'm not going to let it happen. And that wasn't it. He continued to make big plays throughout the rest of the game. I thought his offensive rebound off of a miscat free throw that led to the Jalen Brunson 3 that put the Knicks up 66-64 when they really, I don't think before that, I don't know if they had led for the entirety of the game, not since like beginning of the first quarter. I thought that was absolutely massive. I thought his mid-ranger, which very reminiscent of like one of those Jalen Brunson, like everybody settled down mid-rangers, that made it 99-92 after so the Knicks had gone up, I forget, by double digits. Clippers came back with some consecutive buckets. They looked like they were trying to make a push, and Deuce hits that 2 to calm everything down. So if ever there was a 6 of 15 night that deserves like praise over and above everybody else, I think it was the night that Deuce had. And it's not just the shots that he hit or the block or whatever else. It is the spirit and the competitive fire that he brings onto the court every single minute that he plays. And that is what this team needed more than anything else. And he is, I mean, right now you could argue that he's like with Josh Hart out, that he is their heart and soul. And it's just a beautiful thing to watch for a homegrown kid who I and many other people have put in this fake trade and that fake trade, for years now. God knows where would this team be without Deuce McBride, who, again, as people were tweeting out earlier, I know he kind of cooled off eventually, but he has been shooting it as well as anyone. So I had to just start out with a little bit of praise for Deuce because I know they won the game by a dozen points. I genuinely don't think they win this game if Deuce McBride is not playing in it. That's how important I think he was tonight. And then from there, we could go in a lot of different directions. I'm going to go with the next most relevant direction for me, which was Karl Anthony Towns. I went in on Cat pretty hard last postgame. I went in on him a little bit today in the newsletter. I've been going in on him, well, I actually no, that's not fair. I've cooled off since the beginning of the season. I went on him obviously very hard at the beginning of the season. And whenever I do that, and people who watch all of these shows know that this is the case, because there are games where he will have a bad game, and I will get on here, and whether he shot bad or maybe didn't take a lot of shots, and I'll say, look, he wasn't actively detrimental tonight, and he played within himself, and he still found ways to contribute, whether that was on the defensive glass or just being a floor spacer or any of those sorts of things. The times when I get upset with Mr. Towns are when I feel like he is bringing off-court stuff with him onto the court, and it is very clearly impacting his level of engagement and his level of effort. And I thought we saw that in spades against the Pistons. And I got to be honest with you, I thought we saw that at the start of this game. And he was putting his head down and he was trying to drive and it wasn't going very well. And he was getting absolutely manhandled on the defensive glass by Ivica Zubac, who, look, Zoo does that to a lot of guys. So I don't think, Towns should feel that much shame in that, although, come on. But I thought by the end of the game, he found something. And I think the way he found something ties into 2 point guards in two different ways. I do not think it should be lost on anyone that when Towns really got going and when Towns really started looking like himself on the offensive end primarily, but don't forget he had a key steal in the fourth quarter, showing a little bit more engagement on the defensive end. I do not think it should be lost on anyone that came when Tyler Kolek was in the game. And the numbers with Kolek and Towns this season, I'll pull them up right now, have been exceptional. Not good, not great, exceptional. There is something about having Kolek out there. Now, before I get to my next point and the other point guard that I want to talk about in the context of Towns, I'm not going to sit here and be like, well, it's Kolek that is activating Towns and he knows how and where to find him. Or maybe it's Towns, something in him is like when Brunson's off the floor, something in him awakens. I don't know, but I do know that I saw a different version of that guy when he was on the floor with Kolek. And we've seen, I would argue, the best version of Towns all season long when he has been on the floor with Tyler Kolek. And again, you saw that tonight. But to really end this on a high note, the point about Towns, I thought down the stretch, when it was winning time, what did you see repeatedly on offensive possession after offensive possession from the Knicks offense? You saw the Karl-Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson pick and roll. And those two players, who are obviously the two most talented players on the Knicks, have kind of dipped in and out of how frequently they use that, a play that, you might suggest that they should just be spamming ad nauseum. And also how effective that play has been, in part because of Towns screening and in part because of some other reasons. But they went to it again and again and again. And I thought the Clippers defense had no idea what to do with it. And it obviously helped the Knicks hammer this one home and close out the win. The numbers, by the way, for Kolek and Towns, and this is not updated from this game, plus 15.1 per 100 possessions. The offense is very good, 118.3. They're giving up 103.3 points per 100 possessions. You want to talk about an elite number. That's as elite as you're going to get. And this is not a tiny sample size. This is 524 possessions at this point, which is that's a real number. If you take Brunson off the court, just in case anyone's wondering, the numbers go down a little bit, but it's still plus 12.4. Offense gets a little bit worse. Defense actually gets a little bit worse, which is interesting. But it's still plus 12.4 and 468 possessions. So those two guys making magic together. Shout out to Tyler Kolek. I know he didn't score a lot of points tonight. I don't think he even had many assists. Well, actually, what do I know? 5 assists in 14 minutes. How you doing? To go with 4 rebounds. I thought his impact and his energy was awesome. And I love that they mic'd him up tonight because it let you know just how intense he is, whether he's on the court or off the court. for the entirety of the 48 minutes, and obviously the whole, 2.5 hours, and probably through pregame warmups. I noticed, I don't know if he's been doing this all year. I don't know if I just haven't noticed it until now, but Kolek being the guy that leads them out of the tunnel, they showed that, I think, online. Actually, I saw it in a tweet. Like, there is really something about this kid, and you love that. And then from there, I could go in a few different directions. It's funny. I'm staring at Brunson's stat line, and I'm staring at OG Anunoby, and I kind of want to talk about Jordan Clarkson, because Jordan Clarkson, along with Deuce and Kolek, I thought Clarkson's energy at the top of the game was really important. I thought he made some shots. He gives them a little bit more of a live wire. I thought that was valuable. And then talk about praising guys who maybe we don't praise as often as well, maybe not as often as we should, as often as we would have liked to start before the start of the season. Thanks for participating, Gershon Yabusele. That was the best game he's played as a Knick. And it's not only because he hit both of his threes. Like, I thought he was like an active presence. Yeah, Harden got him once, and he had one or two other maybe moments, but I thought this was Yabusele's best overall game. And then, we could end on, a good game from Bridges. You know what? They needed Bridges tonight defensively more than anything. The fact that they got 9 rebounds and 5 assists out of him is a great bonus. 9 rebounds for Bridges is awesome. But nice to see him get back on track a little bit. And so let's end with Brunson and OG, because both of those guys have come under, everybody's come under fire. But both of those guys, I think in particular, have come under a very unique fire. Because for OG, he was passive the last game, and his defense has not been where you need it. Both of those things corrected tonight. Was he peak OG on defense? No, but I loved when he got that steal on Kawhi Leonard, his former teammate, a guy he emulates and looks up to. I thought that was a very, very cool play, a cool moment. But he was aggressive, and I thought he was aggressive in the right ways. Yes, he's still passing the ball probably a little bit more than you'd like in terms of trying to make live dribble passes. Not his strength. You saw that in some early turnovers. But you know what? If that's going to keep him engaged and really focused on everything he needs to do, I'll take it. And 8 for 10 for 20 points, that dog will hunt. And then, of course, last but not least, Jalen Brunson. You knew the captain was going to show up tonight. Like, there was just no way, coming off of what I think we can comfortably call his worst game of the season against the Detroit Pistons. I know he scored points. I know there wasn't a whole lot of movement on offense around him. I know he was kind of efficient for a while in that game. Jalen Brunson's top qualification, even ahead of being one of the most dangerous isolation scorers in the league, which he is. When you wear that C on your jersey, I don't think they actually have a C on his jersey, but if they did, it would be a reminder that he is the captain. And your number one job as the captain is to lead your team, and lead your team off the court, and probably more importantly, lead your team on the court as well. And we're going to go over our best bets for Fanatics Sportsbook in a minute. But my best bet, I didn't even think twice about it. I said, give me the Jalen Brunson over on assists. Now, ironically, spoiler alert, I cleared it, but I just barely cleared it. But I thought what you saw from Brunson right out of the gate was an effort to get everybody involved. And he even threw probably a pass early on that he shouldn't have. It was one of his 2 turnovers of the night that led to a fast break, I think, for the Clippers. But I thought the mindset and the mentality that he came out with was exactly what you want to see, again, from your captain, from your leader. And then on top of that, to get freaking 26 points on a dozen shots and go 4 or 5 from deep. Like, that's a reminder that this guy, you might slow him down for a game or two. You ain't holding him down for long. You're just not. And so it was a big, big, big time bounce back performance from Jalen Brunson. I'm sure he's going to be fine. And then as far as the team, at large, 4-game West Coast road trip right now. Those can be obviously tough. goes without saying, but they can also be unifying. And we've heard Knicks teams and other teams over the years talk about how, road trips are time when people come together and guys, spend more time than they do when they're home and they get to go home to their own beds and the whole thing. Honestly, maybe that's what this team needs more than anything, and the fact that they get to now start that road trip coming off a win, feeling pretty good about themselves. I think that's really important. And I just think they just needed a win. They needed a good performance tonight. I'm not going to say they needed a win. As I always say, there's no such thing as much must-win games in November, December, January, February, any of that. They needed to show up tonight, especially at home. Especially at home, where they didn't obviously show up in their last couple of home games. So it was great to see. Congratulations, Deuce McBride, Defensive Player of the Game. That's awesome. Second place, by the way, your New York Knicks are back in second place because Boston lost tonight to Denver in the Boston Garden without Nikola Jokic, who obviously is going to be out for a while. So it's nice that the Knicks are back in second place, half game ahead of Boston, even though they are now 4 back of Detroit. Look, if Detroit goes and runs away with the Eastern Conference, so be it. I do think it is important for them to have a top 2 seed. I would not want to have to go on the road and be the underdog or technically the underdog in multiple playoff series. Possible, starting on the road in the Eastern Conference Finals, I would take that. But a lot of work to do before we get there. It's funny, you look up, and I don't think I've actually said this on any of the pods, but I'll say it now. It's crazy that the second, third, fourth, and fifth best teams in the Eastern Conference, record-wise at least, are all in the Atlantic Division. And meanwhile, the Brooklyn Nets they're coming, baby. Another win tonight. They actually lost tonight, by 1 point to the Orlando Magic, but that was a tight game. So the Knicks, you could argue, they're in the best division in the sport, which doesn't make their life any easier, but they're in first in that division as of right now. So that's good. And then you just got to try to keep racking up wins on this road trip here. Trying to think if there's anything else that I wanted to talk about. There's other stuff that'll come up tonight. I know the Washington, Trey going to the Wizards is a hot topic. I will save my thoughts on the likelihood of getting that top 8 protected pick for whenever somebody brings it up in a super chat. But let's get to the show. I'm excited for this one. These are the shows that you love doing the most. So let's get after it. But first, our best bets. Talk about a comeback. Don't call it a comeback, right? With Fanatics Sportsbook. So again, you can see these best bets on the Fanatics Sportsbook app. We have our own Knicks Film School section on there before every game. And if you would have tailed us on this game and put in this 3-leg parlay, you'd be going to Sizzler. You'd be doing Sizzler tomorrow, and then going out to Stone Cold Creamery afterwards. We're double dipping because we hit not one bet, my over on Jalen Brunson assists, over 6.5 assists. Not 2 bets, Jeff, over 8 points for Jordan Clarkson. How you doing? Thank you, Jordan, for your contribution to this game. He ended with a dozen. But 3 bets, and that is over Miles McBride, 16.5 points, rebounds, and assists. He got almost all of that just on points alone and added in 4 assists and a rebound to boot. Again, he's playing out of his mind. So that was a plus 515. Remember, you could tail our bets on the Fanatics Sportsbook app all the time. I believe Sean with a W did pretty nifty on his video picks tonight too, which I say, I mean, we all root for each other because if you do well in your video picks, it probably means the Knicks did well. But I didn't, we're trying to catch Sean. So it's a little bittersweet there. Okay, let's do it. Those are your best bets presented by Fanatics Sportsbook. I think we have a handful of super chats from before the game was over, starting with Nicole Dean Julia, finding a way to extend Deuce might be priority number one. So here's the thing. The New York Knicks, should they so choose, can extend Deuce McBride right now. They are allowed, when somebody is extension eligible, with Deuce McBride is the team that is eligible to sign him for an extension, obviously, which is the Knicks, can give him either a contract starting with a 40% raise or starting around the average annual salary in the league. Now, last year, the average salary, I'm looking at it right now, was 11.9 million. I believe that number has gone up to, I think it's, no, actually, it's still 11.9. So they can extend him right now, starting at 11.9 million and with 8% raises. So you could do the math. If you do a 4-year deal, which they can they do 4 years? Actually, I'm not sure if they could do. No, I think they could do 4. Don't get mad at me. It might be 3. I'm pretty sure it's 4 though. That could be 4 years and 51, 52. Now, that's a little bit lower than the mid-level, which is there a team out there that will probably give Deuce McBride their full non-taxpayer mid-level exception? I would certainly think so. But, he's not going to get to that point where he's able to sign that contract for a year and a half. So is there some value in the security? As the Jazz are now up 4 on OKC with 1:10 to go. Sorry, I have this game on. We'll see if the Thunder can get off their schneid like the Knicks did tonight. Anyway, is he going to take this thing all the way to unrestricted free agency? He might, or will a guy whose career earnings up to this point in his life are like whatever they are, $10 million, $12 million, $13 million, if he can ensure financial security for himself and his family for, like generations to come, would he consider that? I don't know the answer to that question. Here's the thing. Here's the only reason why I think he might consider it. I think if you look at smaller guards in the league and how their value has kind of fluctuated. Now, obviously, Deuce McBride is a positive defender, whereas some of these other smaller guards, but like, I keep going back to this notion that like Colin Sexton was salary dumped to the freaking Hornets in the summertime. Now he made 18 million. I don't know. I don't know if Deuce would necessarily turn that down. I'd be very curious. And my guess is that the Knicks would offer it. Does he take it? We'll see. The fact that my guess is the fact that we haven't heard anything on it means either they haven't offered or he hasn't accepted. That's my guess. Educated guess. Thanks, Nicole Dean Julia. I-95 Bully, what's going on, man? And also, thank you for always being so great interacting on social with the stuff that we're doing on NBA Takedown. I know you enjoyed Sean's latest eggnog story. I don't know. 7 minutes left in the third. Cat going to the line. I liked him forcing the issue. Super chat might come back and bite me. Results aren't good, though. So let me get back to this one. I-95 has a couple more super chats that we can. I'll cover them all now. LMAO, the unit finished a plus, though, LOL. Yes, that unit did finish a plus. And then the last one here, what's the Brunson Cat on off? So I don't know if you're talking about tonight or on the season as a whole, but I will tell you what it is if you'd like to know. Look, Cat's in a funky place right now offensively. Like, I was texting with someone earlier today, and we were kind of the topic was brought up to me, like, how much has his role really changed? Like, how much is he really sacrificing? How is, because he had that quote about like, I'm the one being asked to sacrifice the most. I'm the one whose role has changed the most. And I know he's taking fewer shots, and I'll pull up exactly how many fewer shots he's taking right now. On a per 36-minute basis this year, he came into this game taking 16.1 shots per 36 minutes. Last year, it was 17.4. For his career, he's averaged 17 shots per 36 minutes. So, it's lower, but it's lower by like a shot. In any case, all of that is to say, I think a lot of this is above the neck issues for Cat. I don't think his role has changed all that much, to the extent that he was asked to maybe sacrifice or that he was asked to change his role. I don't know how much that has actually really happened. And I say all that as a preface to like when he was really going through it on the offensive end for the first 2.5 quarters or so, I was like, I was frustrated. I was very frustrated. I tweeted about it. At the same time, in the back of my mind, I'm like, you get it. Does it excuse it? No. But to understand it, I think. And then, then he kept at it. And then those sorts of plays, those sorts of drives that I know frustrates a lot of us so much started to pay off. Maybe he was just in a funk and he needed to pull out of it. I mean, think about it. He came into this game shooting under 53% from 2 this year. Last year, he shot almost 57% on 2s. So for as much as this offense has done for everybody and as much space and all that stuff, and it has opened up everything for a lot of different people, it's not just that that Cat's threes aren't falling, which they obviously aren't, but he's back in a bit of a slump now, but he's not himself from 2. And, and it's not like it's a post up thing. He's posting up a little bit less, but not that much less. So I just think he needs to get comfortable. And for him, it's going to be a process. And I think tonight, what you saw in the third quarter and the beginning of the fourth quarter, I think was part of that process. As far as the on-off stuff, he ended up being for the game a plus 16, which was just trailed Kolek for the game high. I think a lot of that is from the beginning of the fourth quarter when they really started to pull away. So good job by him. And then as far as him and Brunson on the court together, again, this is coming into this game. The Knicks were a plus 5.3 per 100, elite offense, 125.1 per 100, awful defense, almost giving up 120 points per 100. So, look, that's not ideal. You want your two best players to have a combined net rating of higher than plus 5.3. But considering how I think their chemistry really hasn't been great this year, considering how much Cat has struggled shooting, considering I do not think he has been, I think he's been the worst version of himself that we've seen this year when Brunson has been on the court. It's understandable. And you hope that number, that plus 5.3 number, can go up by a lot. Okay. Let's keep it going. Thanks, I-95 Bully. Appreciate that. Chris Dayton, extend Deuce now. Love the pace and the 31 assists. By the way, you talk about Deuce, you talk about pace. Those two things are intertwined. Because how much or how often does it seem like they play at a more expeditious pace when Deuce is in the game? Again, if it were me, and I understand that there are second apron concerns, I get that. I get that there are second apron concerns. I would, if I was Leon Rose and Brock Aller, and I know they have 180 different scenarios mapped out on their whiteboard. I got to think, I would think long and hard about offering him again, whatever. And again, you give him, if you want to give him a player option, give him a player option, make it a 3-year deal, 3rd-year player option, whatever it is. Deuce McBride should not be going anywhere. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate you, man. Thomas Fischel, what's going on, Thomas? How you been, man? Remember when you said you'd come to my house and cook me dinner if the Wizard pick conveyed? Yes, I did. Not there yet, but it might be time to start looking at recipes. I do remember I said that. So let's get into it. I said I would get into it when we got a super chat about it. So right now, the Wizards lost tonight to Philly. It was close for a while, but they lost tonight. They are currently 10-26. That is the alone for the 3rd worst record in basketball. I went over this just the other day on Takedown. I put out a clip about it But for anybody who is curious about how this stuff works, you could go to Tankathon, who does a great job with, they have actually an option where you could look at all of the different odds. Realistically, for the Knicks to have a real shot at that pick, and when I say a real shot, I mean a 14% shot, the Wizards would need to move up to the 7th worst record in the NBA. Right now, they're the 4th worst. So that means they need to pass Brooklyn. That means they need to pass Utah, who is currently in overtime against Oklahoma City and has been playing well, but they have their own top 8 protected pick to protect. And they would also need to move past Charlotte. Ahead of those teams, and again, even if they move into 7th, which means they would pass Brooklyn, they would pass Utah, and they would pass Charlotte. Even if they do all 3 of those things, that's only a 14% chance. For the Knicks to have a real honest to goodness shot at that pick that is more than just like, again, 14%, really, they would need to get up to the 8th worst record in the league. At that point, the Knicks would have about a 40% chance to end up with the pick, because there would be a 40% chance it would land at either 9th, 10th, 11th, or 12th. Currently, the Clippers, who, as we talked about, have been playing exceptional ball and are not going anywhere, have the 8th worst record in the NBA. After that, you got Dallas, who I think they're going to continue to try to win, although maybe they pivot. We'll see. Memphis, who is obviously currently in the play-in race. And then you got your Portlands and your Milwaukees and your Chicago's. Milwaukee. So look, are there some potential pivot teams there? Milwaukee, if they trade Giannis, obviously they're a pivot team if they get their own pick back, but it would be complicated for them to get their own pick back, so I'm not banking on that. Chicago perpetually tries to win 40 games. They're not pivoting. Charlotte, I don't see that in the cards, but especially since they're only 4 games out of the play-in, we'll see. The Nets obviously can and probably will try to pivot. Portland, interesting potential pivot. Grizzlies, interesting potential pivot. But again, those teams, as of right now, the Grizzlies and the Blazers are 6 and 7 games ahead of the Washington Wizards, respectively. That's a lot. I know the Wizards have been winning lately, but that's a lot. Here's why I'm pouring cold water on the notion that the Knicks are going to get this pick, Thomas, and to anybody out there listening. Fred Katz, my buddy, Fred Katz, tweeted out. I'll read the exact tweet because I'm pretty sure I have it up. The Wizards have been obsessed, Fred Katz says, with the idea of keeping their top 8 protected pick. And of course, now that I'm trying to find the freaking tweet, it goes away. That's okay. I'll just pull up Fred Katz's Twitter on my laptop, which I can do that. Which they would owe to the Knicks. I would be surprised if that obsession dissipated, even after they've traded for Trae Young. The Wizards right now are 7 games back of the 10th spot in the East. I know there's still 40 whatever games to go in the season. That's a lot. The Hawks, they're going to try to win. They're not going anywhere. The Bulls, again, it is their life's mission to win 41 games. So those 2 teams, your 9 and 10 teams in the East, are not going anywhere. I would be shocked if the Bucks are going anywhere. So the notion that the Wizards are going to make a run at the play-in, and by the way, why would they make a run at the play-in? Yeah, Trae Young's going to go there. He's going to play some games. They're going to win some more games. But Trae Young is he's already missed too many games to make the All-NBA team. He has already missed too many. Like, he's not going to make the All-Star team. Like, he's already out of all of that stuff. So the Wizards, I'm sure this was part of the conversation that Trae Young and the Wizards had before they traded for him, because we know these teams talk, because we know it came out that Trae Young wanted the Wizards. Does that mostly have to do with the fact that they are probably going to try to get him paid one way or another? Yes. I think it's totally about they're going to try to get him paid. But I think part of those conversations, I would be shocked if part of those conversations was not, hey, man, We'll give you a chance to shine. We'll give you a chance to have some fun here over the next month or two. But just to be clear, like, this is how this is going down this season. We're not giving up that pick. All that being said, have crazier things happened? Sure. But if you're asking me, am I banking on the Wizards passing again to have a realistic shot, more than 14% chance? If you're asking me to bank on the Wizards passing 1, 2, 3, 4 teams currently ahead of them in the standings, it's tough for me to do. So, Thomas, I'll double down. I will not only come and cook your dinner at your house if they get this pick, I will bring a bottle of wine as well. How about that? Vaunt3Z, what's going on, Vaunt? Allow me to put my tinfoil hat on. Shaq and Kobe vibes from Brunson and Cat. Lowest shot attempts from JB and 7 assists for Cat. Not a coincidence. I think those guys, I don't think it's Shaq and Kobe because those guys, like, Kobe actively hated Shaq and Shaq was just a clown. I don't think this is quite the same thing. I think Brunson, if I had to guess, just to guess, I think Brunson takes the act of playing professional basketball deathly seriously. And I know it doesn't always look that way on the defensive end, but this guy is obsessed with winning. You've heard every coach talk about it. You've heard who said it recently? I think Mike Brown said, like, I've never been around a guy like this, and he's obviously been around LeBron James and Steph Curry. Or he's up there with anybody I've been around. He's been around Kobe. You know, that's how Brunson is wired. Winning is the only thing, you know, to quote Vince Lombardi. Karl-Anthony Towns, what do you hear people say about Karl-Anthony Towns? What a great guy. What a nice guy. What do you hear about him? The outgoing article, that beautiful piece that John Krasinski wrote for The Athletic when he was traded from Minnesota. It wasn't about how Karl-Anthony Towns' competitive spirit changed the Wolves franchise. It wasn't about how are they ever going to make up for, you know, his voice and presence in the locker room. It was about his impact on the community. It was about what a good person he is. And I think, and we know, and, you know, people who have reported on him over the years have said Karl-Anthony Towns wants to be liked. So you have these two very different personalities on your team together. And whereas I think Kobe and Shaq reached the point where they could not get along, I think Jalen and Kat can get along, and I think they have gotten along. But I just think that they have slightly different priorities. You know, there are times where you watch Kat against teams and you, like, wonder, man, did he, like, skim the playbook tonight? You know? And whereas, you know, Brunson knows all this stuff by heart. Like, it's just, they're different people. It doesn't mean they can't get along. It's just, I think it's going to continue to have to be an adjustment for both of them, you know? So, and I'm sure it's not, look, Kat was like the most beloved figure in Minnesota for such a long time. And now he's, like, very clearly number 2 on the totem pole. Which is why, by the way, I think he has come alive in the games that Jalen Brunson has missed this season. So, look, they're not Kobe and Shaq, but is it going to continue to be a work in progress? Yes, I do. But I think they both made an effort tonight. Thanks, man. Oh, man, I think OKC is going to escape with this one. Riyadh, what's going on, Riyadh? How you doing, man? Thanks for the very nice note in the Knicks Film School newsletter comments. Effort, that's all we ever ask for. Keep building. Yes, absolutely. They tried. They gave a shit. You know, what more could you want other than a team that really cares? And they cared. Even with they gave up some open threes tonight. I understood why they gave up those open threes. I actually was like, okay, I get it. They were walling off the paint, the whole thing. This is a team that's been hemorrhaging points in the paint for a while now. And the Clippers score traditionally a lot of points in the paint tonight. 44. Okay, not nothing. But a lot of those were on offensive rebounds, which is like, if I'm going to fault their effort tonight, it was like, on the boards, can't be giving up 15 offensive rebounds, even if you get 16. But that's where you miss Josh Hart, So anyway, thanks, Riyadh. Appreciate you. Justin Richards. Justin, answer your email. I need your email associated with your Fanatics account so I can send you your $25. One thing I love about Mike Brown is that no one is buried. Best Yabu game of the season. Kolek and Kat make beautiful music together. Let's get the vibes back going. Yes. I know people have been feeling a certain type of way every time Yabu checks into the game. I'm glad Mike Brown keeps going to him. For one, if you actually rehab his value a little bit, you might not have to pay out the nose in draft assets to move him for something else. Or, God forbid, imagine he starts playing better. We're sitting here. It's January 7th. The trade deadline is 4 weeks from tomorrow. We have a lot of time left to go. I don't think the Knicks are going to be in any rush to make a trade. I know the Trae Young trade got done today. I just don't think I don't think that there's the rush. So keep sending him out there. Look, you need his player archetype. You need his player archetype on your team. And rather than going to try to find it somewhere else, maybe it's just him. So, yeah, great stuff from Mike Brown. I thought Mike Brown coached a wonderful game tonight. 100%. Mark, we could do the stat whenever. Just put it up. Your call. Thanks, Justin. Appreciate you, man. Oh, here we go. We're doing stat of the game right now. Your stat of the game. I love the new look, by the way. Shout out to Jonah Kaufman. Is 12, as in 12 field goal attempts by Jalen Brunson. That is the fewest he has taken in a game this season. And yet he led all scorers. So this is what what do you call it? The previous super chatter was referring to. Also 7 assists. This is his highest assist to field goal ratio of the season. He also had his 3rd block of the season. How about that? Yeah, again, not a coincidence. Not a coincidence that he came out there looking to distribute, but also knew when his time was. Now, the most encouraging probably stat of the night, Knicks, 123 points. Jalen Brunson, 12 shots. That, if they can have that be a formula moving forward, now obviously Jalen Brunson is going to need to take more than 12 shots most games, but the notion that you do not need Jalen Brunson to shoot it 20, 22, 24, 26 times to put up big points, and that's encouraging. That's a great sign. Shout out to Jonah Kaufman for stat of the game, and Andrew, lovely redesign. All right, Kevin Danishevsky. My favorite moment of the game wasn't a dunker I made 3. It was a Tyler Kolek recovery to what would have been a Batum wide open 3. He's got New York in him. I told you, I loved his minutes. You feel them every time he's out there. And I think, actually, while I'm checking stuff. So tonight he was a plus 18. That was a team high. I know earlier in the season, his on-offs were very bad. Like very bad. Now he's a plus 2.5. And I actually, you know what? Another one of our interns, I think it was Rex, had a graphic like a week or two ago about Tyler Kolek and his plus minus since he re-entered the rotation. So for anybody who doesn't keep track of this stuff, Kolek re-entered the rotation on November 22nd. So it's been about a month and a half. And then since November 22nd, not 100% sure if this is going to be inclusive of tonight. Probably not, because again, the NBA stats page can sometimes take a little bit of time to update. But as of the most available stats, since November 22nd, 2025, Tyler Kolek, when he is on the court, or the Knicks, when Tyler Kolek is on the court, I should say, have a plus 6.8 net rating. Now, here's the interesting thing about that net rating. Their offense gets much worse. So it's only 112.5 points per 100 possessions. They're scoring about 121 per 100 in that time. When he has been off the court, they're scoring 122.6. That's actually the best off-court number. So Tyler Kolek, offensively, for as much as he does that's good, he's not Jalen Brunson. And there's no shame in that because very few players are Jalen Brunson. Here's the thing, though, and this speaks to your point, Mr. Januszewski. When Tyler Kolek is on the court, again, this is since November 22nd, the Knicks have a 105.7 defensive rating in 363 minutes. Among rotation players, that is the best number on the team, and the only guy who's close, I don't know if you consider Ariel Hukporti rotation players, they're at 110.3, but that's in only 180 minutes. The next rotation guy who's close is Deuce, 381 minutes, 110.9 defensive rating. By the way, Deuce McBride, and again, I know he was out for a while, but talk about on-offs. 381 minutes, last 13 games for him, plus 15.9. Is that good? That seems good. Anyway, when Tyler Kolek is off the court, their teams are scoring 120.9 points per 100 against the Knicks. So he has been a godsend from the defensive end, which is not something that I thought that I would be saying about this player. Forget when he was drafted, like 2 months ago. Thanks, Kev. Great call by you. Mr. Fabro, what's going on, Mr. Fabro? Hope you're doing well. Not saying Kolek is as good as IQ. Shout out to Emmanuel Quickly, by the way. Had the game winner in Charlotte. I was watching that game. LaMelo Ball hit what should have been the game winner, running layup, and he was all excited, and the whole crowd was excited, the whole thing. And then quickly, just like with I think 1.4 to go or something, just bombs in a three. Raptors win. Great job by him. Anyway, he's starting to give good things happen when Tyler is on the floor vibes. Yeah, I mean, I read the net rating for you. That's a real thing. You know, on the season, again, he's a positive on the season, so that's nice. But the Knicks' best net rating on the season, the best on-court net rating that they have on the season, Deuce McBride, and it's not close. According to Cleaning the Glass, he is at plus 13.6. How about this for a number? You want a number? I'll give you a number. When Deuce McBride is on the court, again, 660 minutes, and I think this is before tonight, the Knicks are scoring 10.5 more points per 100 possessions. That's second on the team to only Jalen Brunson, who is, by the way, this is so funny. We've been keeping up with this in our text. Jalen Brunson, again, according to Cleaning the Glass, not sure if this is inclusive of tonight, plus 12.1 on offense. That's 97th percentile. Minus 12.3 on defense. That's the first percentile league wide. He's having a season unlike anything we have seen before. Thanks, Mr. Fabro. Brunson Burner 33, good bounce back game from Cat. Yeah, absolutely. Did what he needed to do. And you love to see it. Thanks, Brunson Burner. Stevens Guillaume, what's going on, Stevens? Needed this get right win. I don't think this fan base could have survived the fifth straight loss. Hopefully, we can build on this and get Hart back soon. Also, trade to Washington, LOL. Yeah, it is kind of. Oh, you know what? I haven't sent out this tweet yet, and I think I'm going to send it out right now. I thought of it with like 5 minutes left in the game, and then I'm like, no, I don't want to send this out as bad karma. So I'm just going to go ahead and send it out right now. We had to listen to Hawks fans for years. Years and years and years and years. Tell us that Trae Young's a superstar. Trae Young is this, Trae Young is that, Trae Young doesn't get any respect, yada, yada, yada. And now Trae Young, as a 27 or 28, whatever he is, year old player, gets salary dumped to a 10 and whatever 23 team. You can't write this shit. As far as the fifth straight loss that we avoided, the only thing I'm obviously not upset about it, but I was maybe trying this as a reverse jinx. So I started looking earlier today at teams that won the championship over the last, I think I went back to the 91 Bulls. So 35 years. There have been four teams that have won a championship with a 5-game losing streak. They were the 92-93 Bulls, the 95 Rockets, the 2021 Bucks, and the 2022 Warriors. All won the championship despite having a 5-game losing streak somewhere in their season. And then there were two teams that won the championship despite having a 6-game losing streak. One of which deserves an asterisk. The 2011 Mavs, that deserves an asterisk because Dirk Nowitzki missed the first 4 of those games, and he was kind of important to that team. And then the 2003-4 Pistons, who lost 6 in a row and actually 8 of 9 overall. And they obviously won that. But they like are the team everybody brings up that breaks every rule. So of course they would break this rule as well. But luckily we don't have to find out if the Knicks can win a championship if they lost 5 straight, because they haven't lost 5 straight. So that's good. Thanks, Stevens. And a lot of 4-game losing streaks that when I went back and did this research. So, it's fine. True statement. What's going on, man? The first 3-game losing streak, Brown said it wouldn't be the last. The building is not on fire. Adversity is good. You hope so. Adversity is good if you come out of it stronger. And I'm already looking forward to the rematch with Detroit. I hope the Knicks are looking forward to the rematch with Detroit. Here's what adversity does. Adversity reveals your true character. So if you and me and all of us in Knicks Nation believe that the true character of this Knicks team is high, uniformly high, collectively high, then yeah, adversity is good. If you have questions about that, then adversity could not be good. I am more on the positive side than the negative side. I do still have questions, but tonight was a good night, and I expect this team to get back on track. Thanks, true statement. All right, we got a couple from Joseph Zacola, who I finally got back to your email. My Paisan, JM, thanks for the great reply to my email. My pleasure. It felt nice to see the Knicks grind out a win against a solid opponent. And I had Ajita too. I don't know that I ever really had Ajita in this game. I mean, they were down by 9, which was not ideal. I got a little bit of Ajita at the end there when they went up by 15. And then, my God, there was the one shot tonight that if the shot went down, I was going to be like, oh my God. I think it was a Brook Lopez corner 3 that was pretty open with like 3 minutes or so to go. And it would have gotten it down to 6. If that went down, I think I would have probably paced the rest of the way. Thankfully it did not go down. So yeah. Anyway, yeah, a little bit of agita, but nothing I can't deal with. And then another one here from Joseph. Yabu confounding tonight. He seemed to play, dare I say, somewhat okay. I think he asked Brown for a chance to show his stuff. Great game by Tyler Kolek. Let's check in on Yabusele. I will be kind. Well, actually, you know what? His on-off for the year. So they are getting outscored in his minutes, which 300 minutes, that's not great for a team that overall is pretty good. But it's not like they're getting lambasted whenever he's out there. They're minus 2.3 per 100 when he's out there. It is the only negative number for anybody that's played at least 300 minutes, but whatever. Let's see here. Gershon. Let's do. When did he re-enter the rotation? Oh, this is a quote. By the way, I said that. Deuce, one player, the defensive player of the game. So from courtesy of New York Basketball, a great best Twitter account on the internet. Congratulations, over 100,000 followers. This is from Mike Brown. Yabu was huge, great defensively. I love his aggressiveness. If you're able to catch it, go dunk it, which he did. He took it strong to the hole a couple times, took great shots from three. Need him to continue being aggressive and to rebound. Most important thing Yabu could do is rebound. Because they really do need that. So Yabusele, let's look at, what should we look at? I mean, we could just look at the last 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games. So I think this will include tonight. We'll see. Because that's really been when he's been back in the rotation. So for he is, well, I'll go totals as opposed to per game because he hasn't taken that many shots. But he is 5 of 9 from 3, 10 of 21 from the field, 14 rebounds in 66 minutes. Okay. That's not great, but it's fine. 5 assists, 5 turnovers, not ideal, whatever. And in his 66 minutes, and this is probably the most impressive number, and I know there was a kind of a funny, not really indicative on-off from him from a few games ago, but their plus-minus as a team over the last 6 games is minus 39. He's a minus 2. Meanwhile, Tyler Kolak, team high, plus 24 in that time. Thanks, Joseph. Bill Peterfriend. For one game, exhale. Fantastic effort in the second half. Let's hope they get back on track. Maybe they are back on track now. Maybe they just needed this game. Sometimes all it takes is a game. Now, I was going back and I was looking because my newsletter today, for anybody who didn't read it, shout out to all my Substackers out there. I was kind of comparing this season to when things went off the rails in early January last season and looking at some of the parallels. It's not like I will say this. They were up and down after so they got to win after the 3 straight losses to start the year last year. They got to win against the Raptors, who were not good and was closer than it should have been for 3 quarters. Then they had a bad loss to the terrible loss to the Thunder. Then they kicked the crap out of the Bucks, mostly thanks to Jalen Brunson. Then they lost that terrible game to the Wolves, but the Wolves also hit everything from 3. And then they went on a nice little run, if I recall correctly, or started playing pretty consistently better. And then injuries kind of hit him a little bit, where OG went out and then Brunson went out. So, hopefully the rest of the season is mostly smooth sailing. I'm not willing to rule that out. Thanks, Bill. Shortcuts. What's going on, Shortcuts? How you doing, man? Could it be that what Mike Brown is being praised for, experimenting with new rotations, playing the kids, etc., come with a cost, such as a 4-game losing streak? If so, I think it's worth the cost. Look, I do not think I could just stop the sentence right there. I do not think that it's a coincidence that after 4 straight losses, and to be very clear, this is not to disparage these players, but you did not see Kevin McCullough in the game tonight. And other than, I think, a defensive possession at the end of the quarter or the half or something, you did not see Mo Diawara in this game tonight. I think, yes, Mike Brown has been experimenting, and I agree with you. It is good, and it is probably worth the cost. But when they needed a win tonight, he didn't fuck around. I don't know that I would quite call this the no fucking around crew, but it was as close as Mike Brown has to the no fucking around crew. So good job by him, and good job by everybody who played. Looking at some of the post-game quotes, Deuce McBride says, I know I could be one of the best point of attack defenders in the NBA. Hell yeah, man. Yes, you can. Brunson said we played a little desperate tonight. There's Deuce McBride, a picture of Deuce with the Tims. Love it. Let's see. Let's see everybody in the picture here. OG with the big smile. Does Cat have a smile on his face? Look like Cat's smiling, right? Yeah. Gershon's waving. It's nice. It's a nice picture. Landry Shamet, get well soon. Josh Hart, get well soon. Hey, we might get Josh Hart on Friday, right? That would be cool. Be cool if we got Shamet and Hart, but I'd love Hart. The other interesting thing is if Yabu is kind of back in the good graces, which it seems like he might be, and again, they are a team heavy on guards. They could use another big guy to step up and play well. That makes the rotation question even dicier because, and now Deuce start. I mean, my guess is he goes back to Josh Hart, but maybe he doesn't go back to Josh Hart as a starter right away. Maybe he has Hart coming off the bench for a little while. I'd love to see that. Ease him back in, keep Deuce starting, Mike Brown's got a lot of interesting questions on his hands. I'll just say that. Got a lot of interesting questions. Okay. Thanks, Shortcuts. Will Daly, what's going on, Will? That Cat post-game interview with Han was weird, man. Lots of passive-aggressive energy from a dude coming off a big win. I mean, this is Karl Anthony Towns. This is who he is. I try not to read into it too much. I mean, to me, I watched it and I listened to it. He's just he is not in the business of, if he is not feeling it completely, he is not going to try to convince you that he is not feeling it. He's actually going to go out of his way to let you know that he's not feeling it. And I think even right now, he's still not fully feeling it. And that's a bit of a concern. It is not the end of the world. But, it has to be monitored. I don't know how else to say it. It just continues to have to be monitored. He said after the game, I'm looking at his post-game interview in the locker room. I don't think we were our best today, but we did enough to win. We've got to be better than we were tonight. I've got to be better than I was tonight. That's nice to hear. Yeah. Anyway. Thanks, Will. Look, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I'm not a little concerned about Cat still. I am. But Oscar, what's going on, Oscar? Cat, McCall, OG bounce back. Shout out Kolek and Yabu. Yeah. And Deuce. Shout out to Deuce too. Shout out to the whole team. They all deserve shout outs. Thanks, Oscar. Greg Film Stuff, thank you for the very generous contribution, my man. Nice to see them get back on track. Yabu provided. I'm loving all the Yabu love. This is great, man. He deserves it. Yabu provided some crucial buckets in the fourth, and Cat definitely battled tonight. Should have boxed out Zubac better. Yeah, yes. New York really is a different team without Cat's 3-ball and Josh Hart. I do think that they are being guarded a little bit differently with Cats and a little bit I think other teams can tell early on when he doesn't want to shoot threes. And I think early on tonight, you could tell he didn't really want to shoot threes. And that does impact them. So he needs to find the 3-ball. If he's not hitting threes, it's a problem. the boxing out stuff, I look, again, Zoo is a beast. Were there some of those rebounds where I'm like, come on, man, get in there. Yes. But I'm not trying to crap on Cat tonight. He finished well. I'm trying to focus on the positive here with him and hope that this can get him going and just more than anything, get him in a positive mindset where he is fully in on everything that's going on, because they need him. They just need him. Thanks, Greg. Jason, what's going on, Jason? How you doing, man? Finally, we see the lineup. Shot quality was good. What was the lineup's net rating tonight? That's a question. Let's look it up. Tonight, the lineup, which for anybody who maybe new here, is Deuce plus the other starters. In 18 minutes, well, how about this? In 18 minutes, they were actually a -2. 134.3 offensive rating. That's good. 144.1 defensive rating. That's not so good. They were outscored 47-49 again in 18 minutes. Look, they got off to a rough start defensively. Again, they went down 14-5. I'm pretty sure Brown made his first sub at 14-5. I will double check that. But so if you want to look at it like if that is indeed the case, which I think it might be. Hold on. Enters. No, so they were actually down 19-15 when the first sub came in. So after the first 6 minutes of the game, they were +2 for the rest of the game. If you want to, whatever. I like how it looks out there. And whatever issues I don't think McBride is providing or causing the issues, I think he's part of the solution. Thanks, Jason. I just don't think they came out ready to defend. That's all. But Chris Carter, what's going on, Chris? Well, that's a relief. Glad to see OG and McCall smiles at the end. Vibes still seem off with the starters. Vibes with the bench are immaculate. I think it's different offense and defense. I loved what we saw for the most part from the starters right out of the gate. Thought they got good looks. Thought they just missed some threes, some open threes. Defensively, I did not think the starters played with any level of any real level of urgency out of the gate. So, but that improved throughout the game. Beginning of the third quarter again was a little bit dicey. I think they're still working through it. So, yeah. Thanks, Chris. Oh, and another one from Chris. I'm starting to get a case of the Julius Randles watching Cat. Yeah. Look, again, he finished well. Let's focus on the positive. Finished on a high note. He just needs to continue reminding himself that this is bigger than him. And that's not only him. Everybody on this team. If everybody on this team fully is like realizes the opportunity they have in front of them, and you hope that come playoff time they really will, then the sky's the limit. That's all there is to it. The sky's the limit. Thanks, Chris. Another one. One more. Chris, thank you for the generosity tonight. I've been a Kolek fan since last year. Even with the good play, I was still not entirely sure if he was here for real. Kolek is definitely here now. Backup point guard minutes set. So, yeah. He played 9 tonight. Kolek, Clarkson, Yabusele, and Mitch. Now, look. Hart maybe back Friday. Shamit maybe back Friday, Sunday. I don't know. How many games has this team had this year where all, like, every rotation player has been healthy and available? Like, if I had to guess, they're going to continue selectively giving guys nights off, and they're going to make life a little bit easier for Mike Brown that way. I don't know what he does with this rotation when everybody's here. If you're asking me right now, like, do I think it is 100% like lock it down? Tyler Kolek is going to be in the rotation from now until the end of the year. I can't do that, but I can't do that about, I wouldn't do that about Shamit. I mean, the only guys that I would say that about are the five guys who started tonight, plus Hart, Robinson, and McBride. I have to say, my gut is that Clarkson is the next safest. My head tells me maybe not, but my gut tells me Clarkson is the next safest. And then after, I don't know after that. I don't envy Mike Brown, I'll tell you that. Thanks, Chris. Hush, dude, what's going on, Hush? Smoking on that tray pack, living off of beating Elfrid Payton and Reggie Bullock. Enjoy that abyss in DC, but gets us the 9th pick. Gremlins. Let's go, Knicks. Look, Trae Young just wants to get paid, and him and his representation asked around the league and realized very quickly that no one wanted to pay him, and at least maybe Washington will pay him because they have nobody else to take their money for the foreseeable future. I don't even know of the current guys on their team. Like, yeah, Sarr's going to get a big extension number, but even that's their 2 year. That's 2.5 years away. The George kid will get probably a decent number, although I don't know how high that's actually going to be. So, like, they have the money. Whatever. It'll be interesting. Next up for another one from Hush. Glad they flipped the switch, kind of. Defense looked real bad at some points, but at least the offense is somewhat back. Let's win the rest of the week, and we back. The only time I thought the defense looked really bad was out of the gate. I thought the defense looked really bad out of the gate. I thought they were a little sloppy to start the third, or maybe like they were like over the course of the first half of the third quarter. I was like, because they actually came out and they OG made that dunk and they had a couple other nice offensive possessions. And then I think, what did the Clippers go up? Yeah, Clippers actually went up by 6 a couple times in the third. That's like that middle portion of the third, like early to middle portion of the third. I thought their defense got a little sloppy. And then they started defending. So that was good. Hush with another one. Cat is 1 of 1. The scream for a foul into the clean strip replay. What does it like? Who does it like him, man? I'd like Mike to stagger Wingstop some in these lineups. Yuck. A lot of complaints from Hush tonight. I mean, they won the game by 12, Hush. Jeez. Yeah, look, Cat is a frustrating player. Newsflash. The only time where I found myself getting viscerally upset at him tonight was where he drove, and I noticed this. Both he and Zoo were on the floor. Both of them were on the floor. And yet, he was the one late getting back, and it was his man, and I forget, I think it was it Batum who hit the 3? Somebody hit a 3. And it was because the Knicks were defending 5-on-4 or 4-on-5. Because he was on the floor, and I'm sure he was slow. And actually, in the replay, you saw he was kind of jogging back. And that's the kind of shit that I can't stand for. So, Thanks, Hush. Haitian, what's going on, man? This is how you respond. Now build on this win. Cat played much better. His impact superseded his stat line. Brunson was balanced in his approach. Let's go Knicks. All right, so we have a different opinion here from Haitian. He thinks Cat played better than his stat line. Again, I liked how he finished the game. I liked his passing. I haven't complimented his passing. His passing was exceptional tonight. Exceptional. And that's a big part of what Mike Brown wants him to do. So the fact that he went out there and he tried to be a hub on offense and operate from that high post, that's a sign of buy-in. That's good. Was it perfect? No. Is there stuff to not love necessarily? Yeah. Whoa. I don't know. Where is this coming from? Hold on. We got something here. Let's see if this is a real thing. Okay. Apparently this is a real thing. The Hawks are focusing on acquiring Anthony Davis after trading away Trae Young. I don't know where this came from. I got it from an aggregation account. But it is a real aggregation account. So let's stay tuned for this one. What was I completely, yeah. Okay. Thanks for the contribution, Nation. I completely lost my train of thought. Adam, what's going on, Adam? Just when the thought crossed my mind, did Cat forget how to play basketball? The real Cat decided to check into the game. Good to have the big bodega mostly back. Yeah, I think listen, Adam, I think of everything that's been said about Cat tonight, good and bad, I think that's the fairest. That's the fairest thing. That's the fairest of them all. And it's kind of tough sometimes to be totally fair about Cat because he's a player that everybody has opinions about. And I certainly have opinions about him, and I know a lot of people watching have opinions about him, and that's fine. So we'll see how he does from here. That's what I was when I lost my train of thought a second ago. I was gonna look at their upcoming schedule. So Friday in Phoenix. Phoenix has just been playing really good ball. They're one of the best teams net rating wise in the league for a little while. They are going to come in pretty rested. They played earlier tonight and won against the Memphis Grizzlies by almost 20 points. They're really good. They play really, really hard all the time. So if the Knicks are not ready against the Suns, it will look like that Detroit game. Again, people don't think of Phoenix in that way this year because they traded away Kevin Durant, whatever. Phoenix is a real team. They're 22-15. They are good on offense. They are good on defense. They're a real team. The Knicks have to come out and be ready for that game from the get-go, from opening tip. So I'm putting that out there right now. So that'll be, I think the toughest game on the road trip. After Phoenix, Portland, who has scuffled a lot since a nice early start to their season. Then they have 2 days off. Praise Jeebus. Then they go to Sacramento, who stinks but can be feisty in some of these games. And then they finish off the trip in Golden State. You don't love the fact that the last game of the road trip is in Golden State. I know they've been struggling, but it's Golden State. And then you come home. And then you got 3 in a row, Phoenix, Dallas, Brooklyn. Again, tricky 3 games, 3 teams that if you're not ready for those 3 games, you're gonna be in a little bit of a world of hurt. I'm not gonna go through like the rest of the schedule through the All-Star break, but they have a chance to make up to put some wins here together. We'll see if they do. Thanks, Adam. Vascallo, what's going on, Vascallo? Good bounce back against the load management, I think you mean. Clippers. Lots of season left to play, so we will be fine. Also, was that Yabu's season high in points. Great question. Coming into tonight, his previous season high was 11 against Utah. So, no, this was not Yabu's season high in points, but it was his tied for his third highest scoring game. He also had 9 against the Pelicans the other night. Thanks, Fiscalo. Sergio Escobar, what's going on, Sergio? It's almost 5 a.m. in Warsaw, and I have no proof, but also, no doubt, Coach Brown made them all listen to your opening monologue from Monday. Oh, man. Yeah, I got a couple texts on that one. Listen, I wasn't happy. Just go out there and give a shit. That's all you got to do, man. If you go out there and you play hard, again, I've been a fan for 30 plus years. I have never seen a city fall in love with a Knick team like I did the Knick team that followed the injuries to Julius Randle and OG Anunoby at the end of the 23-24 season. And if you look at that totality of that stretch, that team was, a couple of games over 500 in the regular season from that point forward. That's all they were. There were a couple of games, 2, 3, 4, whatever it was, games over 500. And the city loved that team unlike anything. It's not about wins. It's about effort. And yes, thank you, Mark, for pulling that. So Shams said, yes, the Hawks are gonna go after Anthony Davis, which will be interesting. What sort of draft compensation, if anything, they will have to give up to get. Anthony Davis trade value is among the most fascinating things in the league for me right now. Because again, you know what he could do when he's healthy, but I don't know how you give up what you give up for the right to it makes a lot of money and he's hurt a lot. So I don't know what you do there. Makes $54 million. Now, I don't think either of these are apron teams. I could be wrong about that, but I would guess from a Hawks perspective, oh my God, it's going to be funny. So, well, this will be interesting because obviously they could reroute McCollum. They could reroute McCollum. So then would they need to give up Porzingis? Would they want to give up Porzingis? I mean, Porzingis is making $30 million. This is very interesting. They could go a couple of different directions here because they got Porzingis making 30, McCollum making 30. I would guess they want to keep Kispert. Does Dallas want Ricochet to pair the number one pick in each of the last 2 drafts? That'd be interesting. Kennard makes $11 million. I mean, the simplest deal. The simplest deal is just Porzingis and McCollum for Davis and something. Maybe that's the way they go. That'd be interesting, man. But the Porzingis as a spacer has mattered a lot to them. But I don't know. Maybe they're going in a different direction. Thanks, Sergio. Kevin Danishevsky, what's going on? Yeah, I had the same thought, Mark. Porzingis back to Dallas. That'd be kind of funny. But Luka's not there now, so. I also think it might be play style. Randall and JB played really well together, as did Luka and JB. Ball dominant guys who don't need all-star as much playmaking as Cat. JB and Randall on offense, man, they were awesome together. It is underrated, I think, how great those two were together on offense. Like, they were really, 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 really good. And we were deprived, not to throw dirt on the deceased, but like the vast majority of the time that we got those two together, RJ Barrett was also here. And as we always said, give me RJ and Brunson, that was okay. Give me Brunson and Randall, that was okay. All three of those guys, not as good. So we were deprived of, we only got them for obviously that 1 month, and we know how good that month was, but imagine how great those guys would have developed, the chemistry over time. They clearly liked each other. And then Brunson and Luka were great together. It's again two guys who are just relentless. So yeah, I don't know. Hopefully Kat and JB get there. Benny Bills, what's going on, Benny? It has looked bad, but I'm not worried. Games in January don't matter. Proven by us last year. Go 0-12 against top teams. Still made the Eastern Conference Finals. I've seen what this team can do at their best, so I'm not worried. Let's go Knicks. So, Benny, you might not want to read my newsletter today for Knicks Film School because I kind of took a little bit of a crap on that theory. Not basically my conclusion that I came to in today's newsletter was, yeah, they made the Eastern Conference Finals. But if any one of a handful of things go differently in games 4 and 6 against the Pistons, they're going to a game 7 against the Pistons. If multiple things go differently against the Pistons in games 4 and 6, then it's a very different conversation. My point is like the notion that they were close to being a first round out last year is not a crazy notion, and then we know what happened against Boston, but like those are two miraculous fourth quarters. Now, they were two miraculous fourth quarters that happened because, as I said this the other night, this team's defining characteristic is never say die, never quit. We're never out of a game. We're going to keep fighting. I know they didn't against Detroit the other night, but for the most part, they keep fighting. They keep coming at you. You have to kill them 10 times. 9 isn't enough. But like this notion that they pussyfooted around for 3.5 months last year and ended up in the Eastern Conference Finals. So what they do during the regular seasons now somehow should not be dispositive of what they are or what they're capable of. I'm sorry, I just can't get on board with that. This team was not good in the playoffs last year. I know that sounds insane to say because they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. They did not play well against the Detroit Pistons. They were not outplayed. They were thoroughly outplayed for more quarters than they weren't against Boston. They got their fucking asses handed to them for the first 3 quarters of games 1 and 2. And need I remind you what happened in game 3 against the Celtics and in game 5 against the Celtics? They made it to the Eastern Conference Finals last year. Everything is going to be fine. I'm sorry. That's not getting me to sleep at night. It proves that, again, they have it in themselves to overcome adversity, which is great. It's a never say die thing. They are capable of it. But all of what we're seeing right now, to me, the reason why I've been kind of a little twisted the last few days and why I have reacted to this is a real thing, is because this is confirmation to me that like the team that was very frustrating last year and that had very high highs but also very low lows, was just generally very inconsistent. That's still this team, I think. Now, might I eat those words if they go on to win 80% of their games the rest of the season? We're going to look back and be like, oh yeah, that was just a cup hangover. All that nonsense about the locker room and this and that and the other thing, that was all bullshit. Didn't mean anything. That I'll be very happy to admit if I'm wrong, if that ends up being the case. If they win whatever it is, 75, 80% of their games from here on in, I will be very happy to look back on this last week as cup hangover. That's all it was. They will have to prove to me over the next several weeks at the very least that is what the last week was. Because as of right now, I do not think that is all this last week was. But again, I'll be the first to admit if I'm wrong there. Thanks, Benny. Kevin Danishevsky, 0304 Pistons had not traded for Sheed yet. Good call. That was bad miss by me. Good call, Kev. You're always on top of it. Thanks, man. Asked Adam Austin, I went in on the Fischel House dinner, if that conveys. Everybody's invited. What am I cooking? I don't make a ton of things. I make a mean chicken cutlet, as Robert Cross knows. Thanks, Adam. I think, is that it? We're done? No, here we go. Ray Marcano. Ray, you saw me sent me a text before. I did not get a chance to read it yet. You're the man. This community is lucky to have you. Well, Ray, that's very kind of you to say. I'm very lucky to have a friend like you. The entire Knicks Film School community is very lucky to have someone like you who pops on podcasts and writes newsletters from time to time. So thank you for that. And also, while I have you up here, shout out to the absolute best bourbon newsletter or bourbon anything anywhere, the Bourbon Resource, which is available on Substack. And everybody watching this, if you want to read about bourbon or you just want to read great writing by someone who is very passionate about something, you should read and subscribe to Ray Marcano's The Bourbon Resource. So there you go. Trying to think, what's the last one that I'm looking for the last one. I can't find it in my inbox. I'll find it. Anyway. Okay. That's it. We're done, I think. Thank you to Mark on the ones and twos. Thanks everybody for watching. Got like 1,700 people watching right now. That's awesome. It's 11:30 at night. Always encouraging. If you dig the show, help the show out in any way that you can, whether it be by subscribing to bonus content at Patreon or Substack, giving us a 5-star rating, writing a nice review, merely subscribing on YouTube, turning on your YouTube alerts, and then, of course, following us on social media at Knicks Film School. That is SKOOL. Let's see, what do we got coming up? Today's Wednesday. We got X's and O's tomorrow night. That's good. That'll be fun. And then I'll be on the post game on Friday. Hopefully talking about a second straight win. So all good things coming up. Thanks everybody for watching, and I will talk to you all soon. Peace out.
Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777. Massachusetts, call 800-327-5050. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY. Maryland, visit mdgamblinghelp.org. Not available in all states. Terms apply. See the Fanatics Sportsbook app.